To the website audit of Sooke Exercise Therapy, where I review the visual design, information architecture, content, SEO, functionality, and usability and how it all affects conversion. So I always ask 3 questions. First one about describe your brand personality. In this case, performance driven, community focused, and whole person focused. Secondly, what are your conversion goals? In this case, it's to book appointments. And third, what are the challenges of the existing website? So in this case, they feel like it doesn't reflect the clinic's vision, the service offering, and it doesn't differentiate it from the competition. So at the first time I had to look through this site, I thought it was doing a pretty good job at the branding and those types of things, content and all of that. But after speaking with you and having a bit of a light bulb moment around how Sooke Exercise Therapy is different, in that it's not just about tuning into, okay, what the body can do. It's about what that individual person would like to do with their body and their lifestyle. So it's the difference of, I'd like my shoulder to work like a shoulder should versus I'd like my shoulder to work in a way so that I can play violin. It's a really good example. So with that lens, I'll start the review there. So first of all, your homepage is the most important page to quickly and clearly tell people what you offer and how it serves them. And it really should establish your brand and be a teaser menu into the various areas of your website. So as far as establishing your brand, I feel like the homepage does do a pretty good job of this. The one thing I would say there in terms of just color is that you're only using one of your brand colors. So I would actually pull the other brand colors throughout the website design, really repeat and use those colors in a more dynamic way. The second thing is I think you are using the homepage as a good teaser menu. You've got the items in the main menu here are reflected in the content that you have here with these call to actions, although I'd make them a little bit more clear than just saying performance. I would use, read more, learn more about performance, learn more about, and lead those as better call to actions. But what I would think really with a different lens of looking at this and differentiating Sooke Exercise Therapy from any other rehab or physiotherapy clinic is that this main hero section or feature area section, feature image, is a missed opportunity. Because although you have this move better, feel better, and the call to action, which is good, this doesn't really tell me what you do and how you do it and how it's different. So I would use this feature section to perhaps like as a video, or also stills could work with this, with the people that you treat and how it's improved their lives, like the transformation they've been through. So maybe it's like a quote that they're saying, and it's either a video testimonial essentially, or it's a picture of them and they're living their best life and you have a quote from them that's overlaid, and that explains it in a visual and text way, that what you do and how it's different. So that's what I would really use this section for. And maybe it's different every time you load the page. Maybe it's a slider where there's a few of them and they're sort of like just the stories of how you help people. So scrolling down the page, I'd make this a bit larger, probably shorten it to just one main intro sentence as sort of a follow-up to the transformation that you, sort of your brand promise and what you do and how you do it. This is sort of the follow-up to that. This might be the how, and then you get into the individual sections of services, just like you have in the navigation bar. Now, here's something too that I'll just point out quickly, is that I noticed in the navigation bar, for the first time I reviewed this, I noticed it was set rehab, set performance, set massage. So there's a repetitiveness to this that I don't think you need in the navigation bar. And then at first it didn't quite click like immediately that you actually mean these are your acronym. I don't think it's necessary in the navigation bar. Down here it might be useful because you're saying that this is how you do it differently, but it would actually I think I would just eliminate that out of here. And if anything, on the individual pages where you have this SET, I would actually elaborate and say Sooke exercise therapy rehab services, because that's also good for search engine optimization. You want to have those words Sooke exercise and therapy in your titles. That's much more useful than just having the word set, because set's not really a applicable keyword in this example. So that's just a little thing about the content and the titles and incorporating more of those keywords in here. Now you might want to also elaborate a little bit more, put some keywords, additional keywords in these titles on the homepage to really help with your SEO in that case. Now I think there was one other I was going to point out here. We have one missing here that you have in the main navigation bar, which is the massage. You're missing that in terms of a teaser on the homepage. Jump right to telehealth, and then we have about. I would also have a call to action here that's learn more about us or learn more about our team, because that's something you do have an about page here with the team. Navigationally wise, I would get rid of these back and forth because they don't actually do anything. You're setting up an expectation that you can scroll through other additional content, and yet it's not there. So that might just be your template. I don't know, but I would definitely revisit that and change that. Now back to the homepage. Looking at the information architecture beyond what I've sort of already gone through, it's how it's structured and navigated. So I'd really be looking at this navigation. First thing I noticed too is you have your name duplicated here. So I would, if you feel like this is too small, I think I would use an alternate version of the logo that did have a slightly larger text. So I would take out this duplication and just have it once. Also, by doing this, you have the logo is always linked to the homepage as standard functionality on most websites. So you actually don't need a home navigation item. You just have the logo. Like I mentioned too, I would not use the word set in each of these. I would just keep them singular words. It's also a lot easier for somebody who's viewing the site to just read at a glance very quickly what your menu navigation options are. The other thing in regards to call to action, so your book now up here goes directly to JNAP, and yet these call to actions actually would launch an email address. So I feel like there's an inconsistency here. These call to actions that are throughout the website. For example, here we go to get in touch. This is again an email call to action. It doesn't say email us. And even with that, what I would expect is that this would actually go to a contact page where then you would find the information about booking online, and you would have a contact form. You'd have your contact information in terms of phone number, email address, socials, all listed on there. Well, here's the contact form here. So I would actually make this main call to action button up here. This would be just booking, and that would go to this contact page, and you would basically funnel any sort of call to action about contact us or book with us or anything like that. You would funnel it all to a singular page that had everything in one place. So that also eliminates this extra contact button. It really shorten up your navigation. In fact, you could actually have the navigation right up next to the logo, so it would shorten the visual amount of space that your navigation takes up. And then also as you scroll, I would have that be sticky or stay at the top of the screen so that your navigation is always available no matter where you're going along the page. It's either that, or you make sure that you have in your footer, you have your navigation repeated at the end of the page is another standard functionality thing. Your footer, I feel like, is a missed opportunity here. In terms of the design and the layout, we have some duplication of information. I think this is actually completely duplicated again here. So I would just have the one footer. I would also have your main call to action in your footers consistently across the entire site. So that would be basically your booking, you're trying to send somebody to your intake form. I would also have on that contact page your intake form have, your usual questions, your name, age, all that sort of stuff that you would generally take as a therapist, but also include some questions that go back to or touch on that lens through which we're viewing this, which is, how do you want to be able to use your body that suits your lifestyle and your own personal goals? So having questions around that would also trigger the person to realize that, oh, these guys have a different approach with this, and it starts them thinking in that way. Now, in terms of information on these other pages, again, these get in touch, I would have those send to an actual page, because it gets a little bit unclear. And then you've got book now a few times, but I would, if you're going to include it, I would include it under each of these, or just once at the end of the page. I'd also make the font larger. I find this really small to read, so you have some legibility issues going on here, just from a visual perspective. This is easier to read because it's better contrast and it's bolder, but again, I would go with a larger font, and I would go with the left aligned, not all centered, which is actually harder to read. So there's a couple of things readability wise. This is a nice way to present information with some icons. It's a lot easier to skim read. You can read this at a very quick glance.